want to know about some pro-life bills being introduced on Capitol Hill and a letter that pro-life leaders sent to the Speaker of the House. This is the CitizenLink Report. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, along with Carrie Earl, who follows the life issue for Focus on the Family. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Stuart.
You know, when there's a big story like the partial government shutdown, it tends to clog up all the news channels. It's hard to find out about what else is going on Capitol Hill. You've been keeping an eye on 3 bills. We want to talk about each one real quickly. First, over in the Senate, one called the Children and Families First. What's it about?
Well, Stuart, many of us have heard stories of families that wanted to adopt internationally. And not only do they have to go through red tape in the foreign country they're adopting from, they often hit red tape here in the United States as well. So this is a measure introduced in the Senate. It has bipartisan support. The primary sponsor is Mary Landrieu of Louisiana, and it would reallocate responsibility for international adoption within the State Department. It would also streamline and cut through some of that red tape for families to make it easier for them to adopt. So it really has the goal to help get kids into forever families in the United States. So it has bipartisan support.
And the second bill you're watching over in the House is the Family Fairness and Opportunity Tax Reform Act. And I have to read it because the name is so long. Tell us about it.
Well, it is an increased tax child credit, and it is Senator Mike Lee of Utah that is going to be introducing that. That hasn't been dropped yet. Yeah. But this is part of a larger tax reform package by Senator Lee, and it would increase per child for additional tax credit of $2,500. And that's in addition to the $1,000 per child that is currently allocated. And the idea here is that children are going to be the taxpayers of the future. And they are expensive to raise. They're the best investment, but most certainly families with children maybe struggle a little bit more. So this would give them a little bit of cushion in the tax code.
And the final one that we want to talk about today is called the Abortion Insurance Full Disclosure Act. That sounds intriguing.
Well, it is, and it's tied to the whole debate over the federal health care program. It is introduced in the House by Representative Chris Smith of New Jersey, and the idea here is that in Obamacare there is a clause that requires secrecy. The exchanges at the state level, some of them do have an abortion premium, an abortion subsidy up to at least $1 a month. And the problem is when you sign up for those, you don't know that you've signed up for a plan that has abortion in it until you've signed it. It's kind of like what Nancy Pelosi said, we'll know what's in the bill once we pass it. Yeah. Once you sign on the dotted line, you find out whether or not some of your money is going to go to abortion. And that's whether or not you are male, female, you're 20, you're 80. It doesn't matter. Everybody's footing the bill for this. So this is a bill that would require that disclosure to be made before you sign. And if there is abortion in the plan, for you to be told up front what the cost of that is so that you can make an informed choice as a consumer.
And our perception here is that as you look at what the administration has been doing with the implementation of Obamacare, that they're working carefully to not look like they're putting abortion into Obamacare, but to protect that space so that they can definitely bring it about.
Absolutely. And that's what happened when this was being negotiated, if you will, was there was a clause put in that at least 1 or 2 of the plans in a given state must be abortion-free or at least just follow the Hyde Amendment, which is rape, incest, life of the mother. Yeah. Now, there have been some states that have said, we don't want any abortion funding, period, and those are going to be in a different category. But again, this is basic disclosure for people. This is a product that they have to buy or they're going to be fined, and the least you can do at this point is to say this is what you're buying and what you're paying for.
Now, I know we don't do particularly well at looking into the future on these things, but what are the chances of these bills? We've got a president and a Senate Majority Leader who are not particularly kind to pro-life bills, but they might be open to adoption bills. What do you think?
I think the adoption bill in the Senate, because it does have bipartisan support, is the most likely to pass. And again, that is an issue that is less polarizing, that people can really come together with. The other 2, reforming the tax code to put more money in the pockets of taxpayers who are raising children, that's going to be a hard sell, especially in the Senate. And the House bill, of course, is here we have again the Republicans, the conservatives in the House who are trying to draw a bold line to say this is our problem with Obamacare and we really want this to be dealt with.
I've got a letter that a long list of pro-life groups sent to Speaker of the House John Boehner. It's kind of lengthy. I want to read what's probably the paragraph that summarizes summarizes what it's all about. It says, quote, under the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, millions of Americans will be unknowingly enrolled in health care plans that include elective abortion coverage, which we just talked about. These plans will charge enrollees a minimum of $1 per month, an abortion surcharge that will go into an abortion slush fund. Regulations further contain a secrecy clause to conceal the existence of the abortion surcharge until the moment of enrollment. This surcharge is only disclosed in the fine print without itemization of the monthly premium and is never discussed again. That sounds kind of sneaky.
Well, it does, and that's why this letter went to Speaker Boehner, was to ask him to include in any must-pass legislation that is tied to government funding and the debt ceiling, to include a repeal of the abortion section of Obamacare and also the HHS mandate for employers, which we've talked about quite a bit. These are the two major problems with Obamacare. There are other problems as well, but the abortion funding and the HHS mandate. And we are at a place now that we're in real time. We're in real time. We're not just talking about what's in the future. Americans are signing up for exchanges. They are signing up for exchanges.
Well, they're trying to.
They're trying to.
Yeah.
That include abortion, that will be billing them for other people's abortions, and they may not know that. It's estimated anywhere from 70,000 to over 100,000 abortions will be at least partially subsidized by the Obamacare program and by an expansion in Medicaid. And that arguably is the largest abortion expansion since Roe v. Wade in this country. The other, with the HHS mandate, Stuart, people may not realize if you have a for-profit business and you have a Christian or faith-based conviction that you don't want to provide coverage for contraceptives, possible abortion-causing drugs, those businesses are being fined. They are accruing fines today unless they have gone to court and are part of a lawsuit and have gotten a temporary judgment to protect them from those fines.
It's either betray your faith or pay a fine.
It is, and people are living in real time on these issues right now, and that's why I think it's so critical. Nonprofits only have until the first of the year. January 1, 2014, nonprofits begin to be fined. So these are some very serious issues, which is why this letter went up to the Hill.
And who would have guessed? I mean, we've been talking about it for many months, but I think many people are a little surprised that this implementation of a federal health care law is running head-on into religious freedom. We've got more than 70 companies, colleges, nonprofits of all kinds who are suing the administration, which is defending all of them because it wants to keep abortion in health care.
Well, what we've seen here is that the whole agenda of abortion, of so-called reproductive rights, of contraception, trumps religious freedom. And we've talked about that on this program. If we allow that to stand as the American people, we have really allowed a foot in the door that is going to impact many more people in different ways that we can't even begin to imagine yet. It is a very dangerous place to go when we start tinkering with those first freedoms in the Constitution. And most certainly that's why people are alarmed about Obamacare. That is why I would suspect the folks in the House, especially on the Republican side, are drawing such a hard line on this because they see where it could take the country economically, morally, as well as for our religious freedoms. And we don't want to be toying with that.
Very good. Carrie, thanks for tracking all this for us. Appreciate your insights.
You bet. Thanks, Stuart.
And thank you for watching. We appreciate your dropping by here each week to hear from us on the issues that you care about. You may always write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. We appreciate hearing your comments, your questions, your criticisms. We do read every note that comes in, but we can't always respond to each one. We encourage you to pray for our elected officials in Washington as they consider these bills that we've talked about. Help them to have the wisdom of Solomon as they figure out what to do with the language in these bills and how to get them passed as they move through the House and the Senate. And remember to pray for the country overall. Also remember to stand tall and be heard.